Sebastian has the last pulls of his cigarette before entering the building of a TV studio. Inside, the producers of the network frantically prepare for the special broadcast. It is New Year's Eve 1999, and they want to welcome the new millennium with a bang. Meanwhile, Sebastian sits in the lobby studying the movements of people. He spots his target and makes his move when the coast is clear. Back on set, Mira rushes in late, disrupting the final rehearsal. She begins to undress while asking the presenter to remove her clothes. Laura, who is one of the producers, goes over to hear what she has to say. Mira apologizes for her lateness, explaining she got caught up in a New Year's Eve rehearsal, but downplays it when the producer starts to complain. She assumes that the lady in her dress is some kind of punishment, but Laura corrects her, saying that's her replacement. Mira laughs it off and tells the woman to undress, after which she storms off in a rage. They quickly put the final touches on her just before they go live. As they broadcast, Sebastian makes his way through the corridors with a guy named Grzegorz, who happens to be one of the security guards. He uses him to gain access into the main stage as Mira calls the winner of the call-in contest. The cameramen try to warn them that they are live as they inch closer into the shot. Sebastian suddenly pulls the gun on the cameramen, which makes them back off. He pushes Grzegorz to one side as he walks straight onto the set, pointing the gun at Mira. Laura orders them to cut the live feed before things escalate. Sebastian starts to address the camera, thinking it's still rolling, while Mira begins to admonish Laura for allowing the interruption. She tries to walk off set, but the gunman stops her in her tracks, asking her if they are off air. With a gun in her face, she seems to have drank a glass of humble juice and has now dropped the diva act. He orders the presenter to get the cameras working again, but she explains that it is only the people in the control room who can do that. Sebastian instructs Grzegorz to handcuff himself to Mira before sitting them down. While all this is going on, the contestant is still on the phone wondering if they have won. The gunman gets tired of the callers yapping, so he orders Mira to tell her that she won the grand prize to shut her up. Sebastian then secures all access points to the studio before requesting they go live. Unbeknownst to him, Laura has asked one of the staff to record this whole event, while others alert law enforcement of the hostage situation. Meanwhile, Sebastian uncuffs them and uses it to lock one of the doors instead. Laura asks the head of security to speak to the kidnapper, but he acknowledges that this situation is way above his pay grade. His job is just to check people's ID. The producer takes responsibility and tries to find out the motive of his actions, but she just annoys him. He makes his way up to the thick glass that separates the producers and the studio. The other workers quickly evacuate their stations, leaving Laura alone. He requests she turn on the normal lights so that he can get a better visual on the whole area, after which the gunman demands to go live again, but she explains that there is a schedule. However, she will make a call to see what they can do. Mira dashes for the door while he's up there, but she quickly realizes that it is locked. She surrenders and apologizes hysterically as he holds her at gunpoint. The producer tries to buy more time by requesting that she needs to gather a crew in order to start the broadcast. Although he's starting to get agitated, he allows it. While they wait, he orders the two to get in the car. Mira thinks that Grzegorz might be an accomplice and starts questioning him, but he quells her suspicion. She then asks him to do something to solve the situation, but he's a rational male, so Grzegorz suggests they just do as he says for now. She gets repulsed by him because of his answer, and therefore asks him to move away from her. Sebastian makes a call to David when he finds out how to contact people externally. He asks him to put on the nearest TV so that he can witness his show. Meanwhile, the police have arrived at the scene to begin the hostage retrieval operation. They begin by stationing units around all the entrances ready to pounce at moment's notice. Back inside, Mira tries to use her child to get a phone call, but Sebastian shuts that down, refusing to be emotionally blackmailed. While Laura continues to stall, the phone rings, and it's a member from the studio crew who is happy to see something like this happening. He uses this as an opportunity to insult Mira for her poor attitude towards everyone on set, and expresses that other colleagues have taken bets hoping that she gets killed in this situation. While all of this is going on, the police have entered the producer's booth led by Krzysztof from HQ. They watch on as Mira starts to rant at her colleagues for the call they just made. Sebastian starts to have a casual conversation with Grzegorz when they are interrupted by Piotr, one of the negotiators. The gunman is uncomfortable with the change of voice, so he asks them to turn on the lights in the office, but Piotr tries to act distressed as Sebastian points the weapon towards them. He proceeds to walk in their direction when a troll in the office turns on the light to reveal the well-armed unit standing there. Sebastian gets spooked out and grabs Mira at gunpoint. He asks them to keep the lights on while he hides, The gunman makes Grzegorz confirm their numbers before requesting them to clear the room, which they do immediately. He comes back in the frame and notices Lena, the second negotiator, sitting there, so he asks her to get the hell out too. He further secures one of the exits by using the car to block it with the help of Grzegorz. Piotr tries to apologize for the heavy police presence, but he's not interested, only giving them 10 minutes to get the cameras online. He takes Mira's watch to keep track of time, but promises to give it back. Krzysztof and Laura discuss the fact they might have to let him go live, but she worries that he could do something abhorrent in front of the audience, so she shuts down that idea. During that interval, the police are interrogating David and have run a background check on Sebastian. He has no criminal records. He is a dropout of Technical University and lives with his mother as the only child. With 2 minutes left of their 10, the police try to infiltrate disguised as the camera operators, but shortly after their time runs out, they still try to stall. Mira is fed up with it all and reveals that she knows how to operate the camera since she has been working in the industry for over 15 years. She begins to frame everything while explaining to Sebastian, with everything set up, the gunman is ready to go live. They try to further stall time by informing him that there is no one around who can give that authorization. The guy gets a little annoyed and threatens to shoot Grzegorz as Piotr begs for him to stop. Piotr alerts him that only the chairman can give the green light and promises to get him on site as soon as possible, but it may take a while. Piotr tries to give Sebastian a way out, informing him of a law that states that if he frees the hostage safely, then he will not be punished, but he does not fall for it after making the cop state the rest of the laws in that section, which reveals that he could still be jailed. But Piotr tries to convince him that the first law he stated still stands in this case. The gunman responds by asking them to choose one of the hostages. Both hostages try to play the sentimental card that they have children in order for them to get chosen, but the police choose Mira. It doesn't really amount to much since he's not letting her go. The gunman orders everyone to be quiet till the chairman arrives. Meanwhile, Krzysztof is getting frustrated, but Lena explains that it is common protocol to make the perp think that he's on top and in control. They arrive at one of the entrances to meet a unit clearing the space in case they need to perform a breach. The police later surprise Sebastian by allowing his father to talk to him. When he hears his voice, he doesn't believe it, so he asks him to stand up so that he can get a visual confirmation. He comments on how his life must be good because he has put on weight. This insinuates that they have not seen each other in some time. So, this interaction is about to be on some Jerry Springer level. Sebastian tells him to go home as his dad pleads for him to stop, but he carries on sarcastically asking him if he is proud that his son is going to be on TV. He orders his father to go home and watch it with his new little family. Papa is not so happy that he's revealing their dirty laundry and starts to get angry. Krzysztof has had enough of how Piotr is mediating the situation, so he asks him and everyone else to get out. He prompts the father to keep talking, to which he does. He starts to bully his son about his past speech disorder, and he predicts that he will choke if he was given the opportunity to go live. Grzegorz gets fed up with the verbal abuse and decides to stand up for his kidnapper, but Sebastian calms him down. This causes Sebastian to start showing some of his past symptoms. He stutters over his words as he reminds his dad of a comment he made about him being broken. His father ends the conversation stating that his son will get abused in jail. The police cut him off and escort him out. What a savage. Laura scolds Krzysztof for allowing such an interaction to happen. Meanwhile, Sebastian moves his hostages out of sight, which agitates law enforcement a little. Lena, who has now been put in charge of communicating, pleads to see them, so he points the camera to show them. He then directs it inside the office to get a better look at the police. He orders Lena to stand up and then proceeds to ask her some personal questions about her insecurities, among other things. While he's distracted, Krzysztof orders one of the units to start drilling as they play loud music in the studio. He figures out what they are doing and reveals that he might have a homemade bomb in his bag, which causes them to quickly stop and evacuate the building. The police also retreat to a safe distance as the siren blasts through the place. Mira frantically knocks on the window wanting to leave and starts to lose it when it looks like she's going nowhere. Meanwhile, the officers secure a room downstairs to make their base of operations. Grzegorz collapses suddenly. Sebastian rushes over to help him and leaves his gun on the floor. Mira contemplates picking it up, but she decides to leave it. The guard eventually regains consciousness to his kidnapper's relief. Back downstairs, they quickly set up their equipment so that they can communicate with Sebastian. With the place now radio silent, the three inside the studio relax as they pass a smoke between each other. They start to mess around and bond a little. All the while, the chairman has arrived and addressed the media on the situation. Law enforcement have managed to restore communication with the studio. Sebastian overhears that the chairman is in the building, so he requests that they put him on air after the president's speech is over. Mira alerts her kidnapper that they are aware of the length of the president's speech because it is pre-recorded, so they should be able to give him a precise time that they can go live. The presenter starts to act scared and panicky before she makes a call to their competitors to give them the scoop. This would give Sebastian the opportunity to voice his message. I think she's suffering from Stockholm Syndrome. This forces the studio's hand. They promise him that they will go live, so he should prepare. His hostages are willing to help him set up. Mira even applies powder and combs his hair to make him look more presentable. Mira proceeds to introduce him, while Grzegorz confirms that they are not live. Sebastian grabs the presenter at gunpoint, but the light suddenly goes off as the police are attempting a breach. Mira makes a dash for the door, but the gunman blocks her, which causes her to fracture her hand. The lady's screams can be heard by everyone. Krzysztof is left with no other option but to call the raid off. Lena tries to find out what happened, but the gunman just blames them instead. He orders the guard to get the first aid kit, but there is nothing inside. Krzysztof makes his way down unarmed and pleads with Sebastian to allow him to take Mira for medical attention, to which he agrees. Grzegorz helps him escort her before returning back. Sebastian realizes that things are coming to an end, so he decides to release Grzegorz too and gives him Mira's watch to return to her. The guard confesses that he actually doesn't have kids, he just wanted to survive. The gunman takes one last smoke before the chairman offers him a chance to record his message as a consolation. Sebastian burns his script before putting the gun to his head. He pulls the trigger multiple times to prove that there was never bullets inside. The police breach the studio and brutally apprehend him. Later, the officers take their various evidence from the crime scene before they start cleaning. Grzegorz casually takes his bus home, while a beaten-up Sebastian is transported to the police station. Let us know below what you think his message was.